Our topic today is to use the oral pith instructions of the Diamond Sutra to overcome the Achilles heel in one's character. The fact is that there are many Achilles heels in our character. There are also many problems and many cruxes, and because of this, we are constantly reincarnated. We must overcome them one by one and steer our character back on the right track, so that we can succeed in our Dharma practices and no longer need to suffer from the pain of samsara. Today we will use the Diamond Sutra to explain this topic. The Lord Buddha Shakyamuni also once described many of his wrongdoings in his past lives. There were many cases that the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni told personally. This time, we will still use a real case of the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni to teach how to work with the Diamond Sutra, to practice the holy Dharma in our daily lives, and how to apply the oral pith instructions of the Diamond Sutra, as well as how to follow the mind training procedure, so that one can be liberated from samsara, or attain Buddhahood smoothly. Let us now go straight to the point. After the Lord Buddha attained Buddhahood, he said that he himself still suffered 10 types of karmic retributions, all of which were quite serious and not minor. One of the cases was that the Lord Buddha suffered from joint pains. The Lord Buddha suddenly suffered from bone pains all over his body, and the pain was very severe. His disciples naturally had some doubts and asked, "Haven't you already attained Buddhahood? Why are you still suffering from bone pains all over the body? Once becoming a Buddha, you should have great supernatural powers, and you should be free from any ailments. Why do you still have bone pains all over your body?" So, the Lord Buddha specifically explained the causes and conditions of this case, which is entitled The Sutra of the Causes and Conditions of Joint Pain, Chapter 4. The case was recorded here. In which sutra was this case written? This case was recorded in the upper volume of the Great Chronicle of Buddhas, also known as Mahabuddhavamsa. Thus I have heard Venerable Ananda was the Lord Buddha's attendant at the time. After the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni entered Mahaparinirvana, Venerable Ananda called many disciples of the Lord Buddha to hold the first Buddhist council. Many of them were great disciples who had already attained the fruition of the Arhat and were able to be liberated from samsara. They gathered together to compile the Buddha's teachings and revelations into Buddhist sutras. Venerable Ananda, although in the early stage of the council, that is, at the beginning of the assembly, he had yet to become an Arhat. However, he had been by the Buddha's side all day and heard countless sutras. Therefore, he could recite those sutras fluently and completely. The sutras were then verified by those disciples who had attained the fruition of the Arhat to see if there were any deviations in what he remembered. Therefore, "Thus I have heard" means Venerable Ananda said, "This is what I heard at that time." So, this is what "thus I have heard" refers to. Once means at that time. At that time, the Lord Buddha was at Anavatapta, together with 500 great bhikshus. 500 people means hundreds of people in modern language, not exactly 500 in number. All of them were Arhats, who possessed all sorts of supernatural powers. Only Venerable Ananda had yet to accomplish at the time due to busy working as the attendant beside the Buddha. Why is it said in this sutra that the Lord Buddha did not let the general public and all the disciples come to listen, but only let the Arhats, that is, the disciples who had accomplished and could be liberated from samsara, come to listen to this particular revelation? As per the last case I taught in the previous session, the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni also summoned all the 500 Arhat disciples at that time in this way. Only those who had accomplished Arhatship were allowed to come to listen. He gave a very important reason at the time, because I caused 500 of you to fall into hell together with me many lives ago. Later, everyone got together again after a round of suffering. Because I owed you all, everyone was connected by a cause and condition, so we got together again, and I've become your guru. It means that after Lord Buddha Shakyamuni attained Buddhahood, he became their guru and taught them to practice the holy Dharma, so they all became Arhats and could be liberated from samsara. He could then pay back the cause that he caused them to fall into hell that day. Why did he summon them to come to listen to the sutra? It is the same as confessing to them in public, I caused you into trouble that day. So, you will find that the Buddha only summoned certain people, and only allowed these people to attend. Needless to say, he would only do so when he had some extremely important things to announce. There was no exception this time. When he preached this sutra, only accomplished arhats could listen. Why? If they had not accomplished the required level, they might have deviations after listening to Lord Buddha Shakyamuni's teachings. Some might even have come up with some evil thoughts, which would do themselves harm and be no good. That was why Lord Buddha Shakyamuni stipulated this. This time, these 500 arhats were summoned again. What was he going to preach? The Lord Buddha was facing Shariputra, one of his 10 principal disciples, whose wisdom was second to none among the disciples. He said to Shariputra, "It was a long time ago. Many, many lifetimes ago, in the city of Raja, in a place called Raja, there was an elder at that time." What is an elder? Of course, an elder is someone with noble character and high prestige and is well respected by others. Everyone should show him due respect. Many might have even received a lot of favors from him and respected him. Such a person is called an elder. The elder had a son, whom we called the elder's son. As his name was not mentioned in this sutra, we refer to him as the elder's son. Remember this term, the elder's son. He will be mentioned a lot later. This elder's son suddenly suffered from an acute illness, and he was on the verge of death. Back then, there was a great doctor in the city. This doctor was very capable and could cure all diseases. There were more than 100 kinds of special medicines he knew how to use, and he could use them all properly. That is why he knew how to cure all diseases, because he was very familiar with the medical properties of the drugs. Since there was such a great doctor, needless to say, this elder's son would definitely call the great doctor to treat him as he was about to die. He made a promise, "If you're able to cure my disease, I'll give you a lot of treasures as a reward. Do your best to heal me." So, the great doctor gave him the medical treatment, after which the elder's son was cured. But he did not reward the doctor, as he had promised. There was nothing the doctor could do. Since the elder's son refused to reward the doctor, and was already cured, the doctor could do nothing but leave it like that. Unexpectedly, the elder's son later became ill again, possibly from another disease, so he again looked for the same doctor to treat him. After he recovered, he did not pay or reward him again. He did not pay for the medicines either. He gave nothing to this doctor. You can tell that this elder's son took promises very lightly. What was his character like? He said things casually. When his life was at stake, he could make any promise as long as someone was willing to help him fulfill his wishes. After that he would forget everything. Even if he did not forget, he had no intention to keep his promises. He was a very stingy person with a great deal of greed. He would not find an ordinary or low-level doctor just because he did not intend to pay. He would find the most prestigious one, but refuse to pay them afterwards despite demanding the best medicines. How could he be so arrogant? And why did this great doctor still treat him? The reason is that he took advantage of the fact that he was the elder's son. The elder was well respected. Everyone had to give due respect to his father, and so the doctor had to treat him. This is what he relied on. So, you will find that this elder's son was very attached to the notion of a self, as mentioned in the Diamond Sutra. That is, his attachment to the concept or perception of self was very severe. He was too concerned about the protection of self. In short, you must obey me, and you should heal me. When he interacted with other people, he also had this very strong attachment, forcing others to listen to him. He was very attached to the notion of others. What is the obsession with the notion of longevity? A more general explanation is that he was obsessed with being condescending. What does being condescending mean? I am the elder's son. The attachment to that kind of privilege was also very severe. He would probably treat the sentient beings of other realms the same, such as the realms of animals, heavens, and hungry ghosts. I suppose he would. However, the case did not involve other sentient beings, so I did not write here that he was attached to the notion of sentient beings. Without a doubt, he would also be attached to the notion of sentient beings if he was attached to these few types of notions. In other words, he would have the same deviations of character when he interacted with different sentient beings and bullied them. However, this case does not mention other realms, so I did not put it here. But what notions was he attached to at least? The notions of a self, others, and longevity. Later, the elder's son fell ill again. He fell ill again after being cured. Why? It was because of his evil karma, for he did not pay the person who healed him. So, he accumulated even more evil karmas, which would have implications. That is why he got ill again, after being cured. He asked the great doctor to treat him again. But he still did not pay him, not even for the medicines. He did this 3 times in a row, paying no money or rewards to that doctor. Then he fell ill again for the 4th time. Again, he asked this great doctor to come to treat him. This time, the great doctor thought to himself, I've treated you 3 times before, and you paid me nothing. It means you won't also pay me even if I cure you this time. This is not going to happen. The elder's son also knew where he did wrong, for he only relied on the fact that he was the son of the elder. But he was afraid that the great doctor would not treat him this time. So, he added some new promises. What new promises did he make? He admitted that he was wrong for not paying the money 3 times before. He said to the doctor, You've cured me 3 times, but I haven't paid you what you deserved. If you treat me today, and heal me this time, I promise, I will definitely pay you back the rewards for the past 3 times plus this time together. He was persuading the great doctor like this, hoping to get his medical treatment that could cure him. You can see that he still held on to his attachments even after so many times and kind of went even further. What did he do? He fell ill again, yet he told even bigger lies to deceive the great doctor. Isn't such kind of attachment more serious? He neither showed any shame nor apologized. He did not say, It's me who's did wrong. He only said, As soon as the treatment this time is done, I'll pay you together with the remuneration for the previous 3 times. That is all he said. He continued to use the same trick to bully and oppress this great doctor. He did not have any shame, which means he did not reflect on himself at all. He had no shame at all. That is, his attachment grew stronger, because he could successfully deceive and oppress the great doctor every time. This made his attachment even more intensified. The great doctor thought to himself, You've already deceived me 3 times. If you're cured this time, you will treat me the same. I have no expectation at all that you'd turn over a new leaf. He thought he must put an end to this now. How did the great doctor put an end to this? He prescribed some incorrect medicines to treat the elder's son, which resulted in his death. You will find that no matter how good the doctor's self-cultivation was, his attachments would also be intensified after being bullied over and over again. That is, when your opponent has strong attachments, you yourself will also have your own attachment reinforced. You will be attached to the notion of a self very much. I'm a great doctor, after all. How dare you've treated me like this? When he interacted with other people, he was still very much attached to the idea, I'm a great doctor, and so you should treat me fairly. The notion of longevity means, I consider myself to be superior to others. I have the expertise and am a famous doctor in the city. I am very capable. How dare you deceived me like this? These are also attachments to the notions of a self, others, and longevity. Would he think the same to the sentient beings of other realms? I do not know. As it is not mentioned in this case, I do not write that he was attached to the notion of sentient beings. The great doctor thought like this: it's reasonable for me to fight back and use something to contend with you. You don't deserve professional services if you don't pay. This is a universally agreed principle. If you don't pay, you don't get professional services. The doctor felt that he did not poison the elder's son. The medicines I prescribed you aren't poisonous and wouldn't kill you. I only gave you some irrelevant medicines that would not cause you to die. I just didn't prescribe the right medicine for the right disease. You've got this disease yourself. The disease got worsened without treatment. Why was it not treated? It's because I wasn't paid. He felt that the reason the elder's son was not treated was because he did not pay for his treatment, which resulted in his own death. The complementary medicines are given free of charge. Since they are complementary, they are of low efficacy for sure because you refuse to pay for them. You should know that. So what has it got to do with me? You owe me 3 medical bills plus this time's medicines. Although they were unrelated to the disease, they still costed money, didn't they? I still have to come to see you. I haven't asked you for the payments. 3 times plus this time. I didn't charge you for a total of 4 times. And I didn't collect any money from you. I've already done my best. He felt that he was not in the wrong. Your death has nothing to do with me. He thought like this. Most people would think he was justified in doing so, but they overlook one thing: cause and effect. The operation of cause and effect is not based on what you think. It has another set of rules. You must pay the life debt you owe others with your own life. That person who entrusted you with his life did not find another doctor for treatment, because he believed that you would cure him. The result was that you did not prescribe the right medicine for the right disease to treat him. You delayed him from finding another doctor to treat him, and he died because of this delay. He would still blame you for this. In other words, he would have this resentment after he lost his life. He would surely try to find out the main culprit who resulted in his death. He would think the culprit was the doctor. I don't care if you did not charge me for the treatment, or you treated me because my father is an elder. You must do your duty since you promised to cure me. It is your fault that you failed to do your duty. It is your fault that you failed to prescribe the right medicine for the right disease. No matter what, I died all because of you. In terms of cause and effect, therefore, it will not change because of the several thoughts the great doctor had. But can the grievances between the two of them be debated? Yes, they can. But they will argue endlessly. If they refuse to change their own thoughts and meet each other halfway, there will never be a solution. This is why the grievances will continue to be connected and pursued after countless lifetimes. They will be pursued no matter how many hundreds of thousands of lifetimes have passed. There will be no end. And this is one of the main reasons why everyone continues to reincarnate. No one is willing to reflect on their own faults. Everybody can only see what is right about them. That is why everyone gets stuck in such a situation. Let us see what the Lord Buddha said to Shariputra back then. He said, "Do you know who that doctor was? It's one of my previous lives before I attained Buddhahood. I'm that great doctor. Who was the elder's son who was sick at that time? That is today's Devadatta. Let me tell you, this Devadatta is very well known in the Buddhist sutras. Everybody must have heard about him. Let me introduce who he is, and why the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni summoned the 500 accomplished arhats, to specially tell them about this story. Needless to say, it must. That being the case, let us talk about this Devadatta in detail. Why did this simple case someone dying due to not being prescribed the right medicine for the right disease, turn into such a big matter? Why did Lord Buddha Shakyamuni solemnly summon so many people to explain it? There must be a reason. Let us first introduce Devadatta. Devadatta was Lord Buddha Shakyamuni's cousin, who was even elder than Lord Buddha Shakyamuni. He was also a disciple of Lord Buddha Shakyamuni. Later, there were disagreements and power struggles between them. When it came to power struggles, of course, Lord Buddha Shakyamuni was the one who was more convincing. So, what did Devadatta do? He created a separate sect to fight against his own guru, Lord Buddha Shakyamuni. Later, Devadatta was drowned to death because he accidentally fell into the water. Although he died, the sect he founded was not disbanded because of his death and continued to exist. There were Master Faxian in Eastern Jin dynasty and Master Xuanzang in Tang dynasty, who you are most familiar with. They both once saw the activities of this sect when they traveled to India to seek Dharma. Master Faxian and Master Xuanzang also recorded that Devadatta's sect only worshipped the three Buddhas of the past, except for Lord Buddha Shakyamuni. They excluded Lord Buddha Shakyamuni and did not worship him. Devadatta ignored his own guru, who had taught him so many things. As recorded in the Mulasarvastivada Vinayasagabhida Vastu, the Lord Buddha and his disciples all ate meat. They were not vegetarian. Devadatta leveraged this to criticize and accuse the Lord Buddha and his disciples of killing sentient beings by eating meat. When Devadatta established another sect, he prohibited all his disciples from eating meat. How did Devadatta destroy the harmony of the Sangha according to the 10 recitations Vinaya Dasabhavra Vinaya? He advocated complete vegetarianism among the Buddhist Sangha. The Lord Buddha rejected Devadatta's proposal, saying he always allowed his disciples to eat the threefold pure meat. So, why do today's Hinayana practitioners and monks eat meat? Because they completely followed Lord Buddha Shakyamuni's stipulations back then. Why did Devadatta advocate this in particular? The reason is that he wanted to seize power. He wanted to overthrow Lord Buddha Shakyamuni, take his position, and then take over all his disciples to become the leader of Buddhism. So, he had to find a loophole to overthrow the Lord Buddha. He also needed to have a certain ability for people to agree with him to take on the role of the Buddha. He thought about it again and came to this. It is a violation of the precept that you allow your disciples to eat meat. You have no compassion. How dare you eat the flesh of sentient beings? I can use this to overthrow you and take over your followers. He thought like this. What are the justifications that Lord Buddha Shakyamuni advocated against Devadatta's criticism and always allowed his disciples to eat the threefold pure meat? We need to first understand what threefold pure meat is. Why is it possible to use threefold pure meat to fight against Devadatta's complete vegetarianism? Is there a chance to win this fight? Or would it cause the entire Buddhism to collapse? Once it collapses, your disciples will no longer follow you to practice the holy Dharma. They will fail in their Dharma practices and fall into the 3 lower realms, which will be miserable. So, how one is going to respond to this matter is very important. Now let us see what threefold pure meat is. 3 conditions must be met. First, one does not see the scene of this animal being killed. According to the Buddhist sutras, if you have not personally seen someone killing this animal, you can eat its meat. If you see the killing, you cannot eat it. It is a violation of the precept to see someone kill an animal and you still eat its flesh. Why is it? Which precept has been violated? It is one that you have no compassion. You still eat it after seeing it being killed so miserably. Second, one does not hear the sound of this animal being killed. For example, if one does not hear this animal being slaughtered when next to a slaughterhouse, one can eat its meat. You do not hear the sound of those sentient beings wailing when being slaughtered. If you do hear it, yet you still eat their flesh, it will take a toll on your compassion. So, you cannot eat them. Third, one does not suspect that this animal may have been killed for oneself. The animal was not killed by you, nor did you know it was killed for you. For example, your mother slaughtered a chicken for you. She told you she personally slaughtered a chicken today, to make soup for you and reminded you to have the soup. You did not suspect, nor did you know, that the meat of this animal that you were eating was killed because of you. Suppose you knew, for example, your mother told you, I slaughtered this chicken especially for you. I slaughtered it myself. Or I asked it to be slaughtered in the market especially for you. If she did not say so, you could eat it. Otherwise, you could not eat it. If you had doubts, you needed to ask clearly whether this animal was slaughtered for you. If yes, you also could not eat it. The above three are called the threefold pure meat. Any meat that does not involve these three categories is pure and edible. Well, Devadatta was not convinced, so he called for Pasata. As I said, the Pasata is a gathering for disciples to recite precepts and confess publicly any transgression of precepts. Taking advantage of the Pasata, he openly said to all disciples of the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni, do you still want to follow Lord Buddha Shakyamuni? He has violated the precepts. He speaks of the threefold pure meat, which is a false compassion. He says that you can eat it as long as you don't see the animals being killed, don't hear the animals wailing while being killed, and the animals are not killed for you. It's better you don't eat it. Why are there such rules? Do not follow him anymore. It's also a violation of the precepts to follow him. Now let's recite the precepts. The real precept is that one must be completely vegetarian and not eat meat. However, the Lord Buddha argued with me and scolded me instead. According to the Buddhist sutras, Lord Buddha Shakyamuni scolded Devadatta and told him that it was wrong to force others to become complete vegetarians. It must be the threefold pure meat that conform to the precepts and the Dharma practice. The Lord Buddha argued with me and scolded me. At the time, Lord Buddha Shakyamuni scolded and called Devadatta a fool, who did not understand the principles of Buddhism at all. The Buddha scolded me instead. So, why should we continue to follow him? So, he successfully poached 504 bhikshus to follow him and set up another sect, which accounted for a large proportion of Lord Buddha Shakyamuni's disciples. Some sutras state that there were actually more than 504, which accounted for almost half of Lord Buddha's disciples, many of whom became the followers of Devadatta instead. Subsequently, Buddhism was splintered, and the harmony of the Sangha was destroyed. What is harmony? Originally, everyone practiced the holy Dharma well together. It was a very good Sangha, being harmonious, friendly, and totally free of quarrels, fights, or violence. Everyone got along very well. Now, just because you cursed the Buddha and made excuses to criticize the Buddha, it led to disagreements, quarrels, fights, and some vendettas against each other. This is no good. It is breaking the harmony of the Sangha. This is a very serious matter. According to the First Buddhist Council in traditional Buddhism, what is the First Buddhist Council? It was not long after Lord Buddha Shakyamuni entered Mahaparinirvana when all his disciples gathered together to compile the Buddha's teachings into the Buddhist sutras. This was called the First Buddhist Council. At that time, the only people who advocated vegetarianism and not eating meat in Buddhism were Devadatta, who destroyed the harmony of the Sangha, and his followers. Apart from them, there was no one in the entire Buddhist community who opposed eating meat. Who else was against it? It was those from the other religions. Some of the non-Buddhists also advocated not eating meat and being vegetarian. Let us see. As a Buddha with the supreme perfect enlightenment and awakening ability, he was fully aware of how the entire universe operates. He should know the workings of the world very well. But why did he not advocate vegetarianism? Why did he still advocate eating the threefold pure meat? He could not win the battle with Devadatta in this way. First and foremost, we must explain what evil causes and conditions and evil minds are. How do causes and effects work exactly? How are the evil causes and conditions and evil minds formed? We will get it once we understand how causes and effects work. Let us look at the hatred of the killed first. For example, as an animal, if you killed me and then ate my flesh, who would I hate the most? Who would I seek revenge in the future? It would be the one who killed me. As for the person who ordered the killing, or the main culprit, who caused the killing, I would also hate their guts and take revenge on them. If you go and provoke these hatreds, how could you still practice the holy Dharma in the future? This is definitely not a good thing. Let us look at this precept. Lord Buddha Shakyamuni said, "One does not see the scene of this animal being killed. One does not hear the sound of this animal being killed." It means that you can eat the threefold pure meat as long as you do not see or hear the animals being killed. Apart from not wanting to harm your compassion, because of this, Lord Buddha Shakyamuni also had another focus that you should pay attention to, which is that he did not want these sentient beings who were eaten by you to have major resentment towards you. If their resentment was focused on you, for they considered you to be the person who killed them, they would hate your guts and keep chasing you for many lifetimes. They would want to take away your life to repay the debts. Then, you would never succeed in your Dharma practice. You would get yourself into trouble. So, when you saw that sentient being killed and did not offer to save it, you would be resented already. If you even ate its flesh, you would be resented even more. They would feel that you were really cruel. Seeing me being killed, you did not try to save me. Now you even ate my flesh. You would definitely become their focus of hatred. So, Lord Buddha Shakyamuni said that you must not do this. If you see them being killed, should you go to save them? Is there anything you can do to save them, and should you do something about it? These are not mentioned in the sutras. There is not much further detail, and it stops here. I cannot explain it in too much detail, either. I can only tell you the gist roughly. The same goes for one does not hear the sound of this animal being killed. Despite hearing clearly its wailing sound, you still ate its flesh. This will hurt your compassion. There is a chance that you will become the focus of vengeance and be chased by that sentient being one day. For this reason, there are such stipulations for the threefold pure meat. Why can we eat the threefold pure meat? You may wonder, why didn't Lord Buddha Shakyamuni forbid all his disciples from eating meat? Some people retorted like this: at that time, they all had to beg for alms. They would eat anything that was given. If you were given meat, you wouldn't throw it away or return it, would you? You would have to eat anything that was given to you. This is inevitable. That is why they had to eat meat. But this is an imprecise explanation. Why? Given Lord Buddha Shakyamuni's reputation back then, he only needed to say, "I now order that all my disciples are not allowed to eat meat." If someone gives you meat during almsgiving, you must refuse it politely and tell them, "I'm sorry, we're Buddhist practitioners. We don't eat meat. If we come to beg for alms, please give us vegetarian food." At that time, meat was the most expensive thing, more expensive than vegetarian food. How could they not listen to you? If you want vegetarian food, people will give it to you. So, this is not the most correct reason. Why did Lord Buddha Shakyamuni allow his disciples to eat the threefold pure meat, and even require them to eat it? There is a real reason why his disciples were required to eat the threefold pure meat. Some sutras even say that Lord Buddha Shakyamuni allowed his disciples to use the threefold pure meat to make offerings to Buddhas. This is stated in those sutras. Why did he do this? Understand. No one has been able to explain this factor properly for many years. The main reason is that the gift of meat is a cause and condition. When sentient beings give you their meat to eat, they will be connected with you through a cause and condition. Will this be a virtuous or evil condition? If you are an ordinary person, I can tell you, it will be most likely an evil condition. You certainly will eat these meats with a bad and greedy mind. The killed sentient being will definitely seek revenge on you. What if you are a Dharma practitioner? This is why Lord Buddha Shakyamuni told his disciples to eat meat. Why? Because of this, after the Dharma practitioners or his disciples ate this meat, they would be connected with this sentient being through a condition. This condition is that it bestowed some meat for you to eat. All your future Dharma practice, for example, suppose you accomplished in your Dharma practice to attain Buddhahood. After you entered the realm of oneness, you would not want to come out. Do you know that the world in a dualistic or multiplistic states is very painful? When someone is liberated from samsara and enters the Dharma realm, they will experience the bliss of Dharmata, which is very joyful. In addition, they will be already in the state of oneness. They no longer think that the pain in the dualistic or multiplistic states is something that they need to rescue. They will think that anyone will return to the state of oneness and be as happy as them, so long as there are causes and conditions, as well as virtuous merits, in the future. There is no need for them to pay special attention to you. Because if they do, they will return to the dualistic or multiplistic states. Just like Lord Buddha Shakyamuni, who already attained Buddhahood. As long as there was a physical body in the dualistic or multiplistic states, he would still suffer the karmic retributions accumulated in the past. His whole body would suffer from bone aches, which were very painful. Just like a firefighter, when he sees a fire and rushes into the fire to save people, he must be mentally prepared for the possibility of being burned to death. To return to dualistic or multiplistic states is to continue suffering. Usually, those who have become Buddhas are not very willing to come out again to save sentient beings. Therefore, there are a large number of Buddhas. Although they have attained Buddhahood, there is only a small number of Buddhas who have come to rescue us. In comparison, there are only a small number of them. You can see that in our entire world now, only Lord Buddha Shakyamuni has come to our rescue for the time being. It will be a very long time before the future Buddha Maitreya comes, as he is still practicing the holy Dharma. We will have to wait for him to form a deeper bond with us and receive more merits from us. After he becomes a Buddha in the future, he will not abandon us and come back to save us. Therefore, Lord Buddha Shakyamuni thought that after his disciples attained Buddhahood, they would also need a cause and condition to come back to save sentient beings. He did not wish that all of them would not want to return once entering the Dharma realm, or the 5 heavens of non-returning of the form realm. So, he asked his disciples to eat meat, which would form a bond with these sentient beings. In the future, if they succeeded in their Dharma practices, attained Buddhahood and entered the realm of oneness, or went to the 5 heavens of non-returning, they would still come back to save these sentient beings and not be afraid of the sea of flames. They would feel, I owe you. I really owe you. You actually gave your flesh to me in one of your lives. There's a cause and condition between us, and I must repay it. As such, they would be more willing to come out from the realm of oneness. Suppose one has always been vegetarian. He would be like, I do not owe anyone. I attained Buddhahood through Dharma practice all by myself. If you take your time to learn and practice the holy Dharma like me, you won't have to suffer anymore once you attain Buddhahood. If that were the case, not many Buddhas would come to save us. How good it would be if a second Buddha came to our world immediately after Lord Buddha Shakyamuni left. So, Lord Buddha Shakyamuni allowed his disciples to eat meat, but they must only eat the threefold pure meat. Otherwise, they would harm their compassion and be unable to accomplish in their Dharma practices. You must not harm your compassion, so you must eat the threefold pure meat. If you do not eat meat at all, and you only eat vegetarian food, you will not be able to connect with these sentient beings and receive their meat offerings. They dedicate to you with the flesh of their own lives. This is a very profound cause and condition indeed. Since it is so profound, it is reasonable to return to save them after entering the Dharma realm. There is one more reason, which is automatic sharing of virtuous merits. There were so many disciples, some of whom became arhats. Many were unable to succeed, but they also practiced the holy Dharma. When they ate the flesh of those sentient beings, a cause and condition was deeply formed between them. The virtuous merits derived from their Dharma practices would be repaid to these sentient beings automatically. Even if the Dharma practitioners did not dedicate merits, without explicitly saying that their virtuous merits would be dedicated to all sentient beings they had killed and eaten, that kind of cause and condition would make their merits automatically repaid to these sentient beings. Do you know how miserable will sentient beings become once they fall into the realm of animals? Do you know that they cannot be reborn in a realm above the realm of animals even after going through countless lifetimes or kalpa? They will only fall deeper down. Why? Because their world is dominated by the law of the jungle. The lion eats the rabbit, and the tiger also eats the rabbit. This is called the law of the jungle. They thus accumulate more and more evil karma, and in the future, they will descend into the realm of hungry ghosts and then into hells. The trend is not upwards at all, but downwards. So, it is very rare for one who has entered the realm of animals to be able to come out and be reborn in the human realm or above. The chances are very slim. In order to save these sentient beings, Lord Buddha Shakyamuni provided them with a chance, a cause and condition, or an opportunity to plant virtuous merits. He hoped that their flesh could be eaten by these Dharma practitioners, so they could also get a share of virtuous merits. As a result, their rebirth trend would not be downward but upward instead, with which they would have a chance to be salvaged. This is the main reason why Lord Buddha Shakyamuni asked his disciples to eat the threefold pure meat. The reason for the criterion that one does not suspect that this animal may have been killed for oneself is self-evident. One must not get involved in some causes and conditions related to the direct killing of this animal. If you kill it with your own hands, you can never untie this knot. Not only is it without compassion, target of vengeance. This sentient being will not be grateful to you. On the contrary, if it is the threefold pure meat, and you eat it with the heart of cultivation, it will be grateful to you. It can get rid of the animal body owing to your virtuous merits. It will be grateful to you and will not hate you. But if you kill it, it will hate you. Or, if you eat its meat despite knowing that someone kills it for you, it will see you as the main object of hatred and will take revenge on you. Therefore, Lord Buddha Shakyamuni observed the whole law of causes and effects and the operation of the entire mundane world in dualistic or multiplistic states. With the Buddha's high degree intrinsic awareness and perfect enlightenment, without any deviations, he felt that he should let his disciples eat the threefold pure meat based on his observation. He required them to eat the threefold pure meat, so that they could truly help the sentient beings. As such, he did not advocate vegetarianism. When Devadatta used this reason against the Lord Buddha, and wanted to take over his position as the leader, he refused to give in and insisted that his disciples ate the threefold pure meat. He even scolded Devadatta, "You're being silly. It is written as fool in the sutra, which means, you're being silly." According to the sutra, Lord Buddha Shakyamuni scolded Devadatta like this: "You're a fool. You know nothing about the Buddhist holy Dharma. You don't know the correct Buddhist holy Dharma." But Devadatta would not listen. Why? Devadatta was clever. It is not that he did not understand it. He just wanted to use this reason to defeat Lord Buddha. I don't need to understand it. My purpose is to defeat you. Most people will agree with me on this. Only a few people will agree with you. As such, I can beat you down. So, Devadatta did not listen. He did not listen to the Lord Buddha's advice. The reason why Lord Buddha Shakyamuni insisted on doing this is all because of this word, balance. All our Dharma practices and even the whole operation of causes and effects are dependent upon this word, which is a very important oral pith instruction, balance. Balance is very important. Do not lean towards one side. Psychological attachment. Do not make yourself mentally attached during the process of Dharma practice. If you always insist on being vegetarian, you will decline any food that contains 1 drop of animal oil, or is cooked in a pot that someone has used to cooked meat before. I won't eat it even though it's vegetarian food. It'll cause me to break the precepts, and I'll hate your guts. I'll see you as a target of hostility. These are exactly attachment, which will prevent you from succeeding in your Dharma practice. Do you know what must we do to enter the realm of oneness? We must keep a balance. Entering the state of oneness of the emptiness requires us to keep a balance. You cannot be too obsessed and lean towards one side. There could be nutritional deviations, especially in the ancient times. It is different now in that there are many supplements. If you are a vegetarian and lacking in this and that, there are still ways to supplement them. But it was impossible in ancient times. They were not even aware of this issue, for they did not have this kind of knowledge. How could they possibly know how to balance? It was impossible. There was no way for them to take vitamin pills every day. So, many people suffer from severe malnutrition because of strict vegetarianism and leaning towards one side. This will affect them when they meditate or practice the holy Dharma. The recovery of their intrinsic awareness will become much slower. It can be said that it does not benefit their Dharma practices at all. So, these 2 points are aimed at Dharma practitioners. Another point is the causes and conditions for rescue. Lord Buddha Shakyamuni wanted to strike a balance for all sentient beings who fell into the realm of animals, so that they could have an opportunity to escape from the realm of animals. In order to save them, he created some causes and conditions for them. That is why he asked his disciples to eat the threefold pure meat. This is the causes and conditions for rescue. What is it for? It is for the future of sentient beings. As you can see, what was the Lord Buddha Shakyamuni trying to balance? He was trying to balance the obstacles of Dharma practitioners in their Dharma practices, as well as to balance the causes and conditions for the rescue of some sentient beings. The focus of Lord Buddha Shakyamuni's whole idea of advocating eating threefold pure meat, instead of being vegetarian completely, is on the word balance. Some people speak of environmental protection. There is now an additional reason, which is for environmental protection. That is, raising too many livestock will damage the environment. Of course, this is an alternative concept of balance, which concerns the environment. But what was Lord Buddha Shakyamuni focusing on at that time? His focus was on sentient beings. As for the issue of environmental protection, the damage to the environment was not too serious at that time, because animals were not raised in large quantities. So, Lord Buddha Shakyamuni did not focus on the concept of environmental protection back then. Remember to balance. For any Dharma practice, you must remember the word balance. Well, now I would like to give you a piece of advice, so that you can avoid having too many obstacles in your Dharma practice. I also hope you will clear some of the obstacles that you have accumulated in the past. You must practice a number of Dharma methods. This practice is to turn some evil causes and conditions into virtuous ones. That is, the focus of Dharma practice lies in mind training. Being vegetarian is not the same as practicing the holy Dharma. You are mistaken. Being vegetarian does not necessarily mean that you are compassionate. You must train your mind before you can be compassionate. The next level of compassion is bodhicitta, which is called the intrinsic awareness. Only then can your intrinsic awareness be aroused. When interacting with any sentient being, we must keep the following principles in mind. Firstly, we must not harm sentient beings for our own benefit. Secondly, do not harm our compassion for the sake of our own benefit. If you harm sentient beings and your own compassion, because of your own interests, you must make up for it immediately, turn evil causes and conditions into virtuous ones. For example, when you breathe, there will be lives killed by you. When you drink water, although some water has been sterilized now, water sterilization was not done in the past, and there were many living things in it that would be killed by boiling water. As for eating plants, many people say that plants also have a life. Do not think that being vegetarian means no lives are harmed. Let alone animals, which are alive. When you walk, you will trample ants to death. You will harm lives, too. So will you during cleaning. You are not involved in killing, and you have not committed the precept of killing. If you use the modern definition of killing, you have not committed killing of the sentient beings. But it is inevitable that you will harm them. Taking antibiotics during a medical treatment will kill a lot of bacteria, and you will also harm them. If you do a lot of things to protect your own interests that will hurt any related sentient being, what should you do to balance it? I will tell you now. First of all, we must immediately use the power of Dharma practice, such as visualization, to help these sentient beings resolve the resentment in their minds and help them escape from suffering. What kind of Dharma methods should be practiced, for example? We have taught our disciples to do prayer before meals. It is not just a prayer, but involves many visualizations in it, all of which must be visualized to help these sentient beings. Not only is it to help sentient beings, but it also makes offerings to Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and dedicates the accumulated merits to these sentient beings. This will let the merit accumulated by these sentient beings increase many times more than the merit you share with them after eating their flesh. Only by increasing this kind of merit geometrically can it really help sentient beings quickly. Why is it said that esoteric Buddhism can enable one to attain Buddhahood within this very lifetime? The reason is that it will also work if you apply the method of exoteric Buddhism. But it will be slower. For example, you have to use your merits to practice the holy Dharma slowly, and then use your merits to share with those sentient beings whose flesh has been eaten by you to repay debts, so that they can get out of their animal bodies, and then slowly be upgraded to return to the realm where they can practice the holy Dharma. If you use the prayer before meals taught now, you must first make an upper offering of all the food to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. And you need to do it by visualization, not recitation. It is not via the speed of sound waves, but via the speed of your mind. You need to visualize via the speed of your mind to make offerings to the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and use the virtuous merits accumulated this way to repay all sentient beings, so that they can quickly and geometrically increase their merits to break away from their animal bodies. So, you must do a few things. You cannot just eat the flesh of sentient beings, and then slowly wait for the accomplishment in your Dharma practice to repay them. You have to pay it back quickly, instantly, and immediately, so do it before you have even started to eat. This prayer before meals is not made after the food is eaten into the stomach. It is to be done before eating. Why? Because you want to rescue this sentient being as soon as possible and resolve the grievances with it for eating its flesh as soon as possible. You also want to establish a good cause and condition to help it get rid of the realm of animals. So, you must do this before you eat it. As for the prayer for karmic creditors, you should also pray for those beings you have eaten before. Don't you need to pay back to those beings you have eaten before, but only to those you are eating now? Of course not. There is also the life-releasing rituals. Praying alone is not enough. You also need to help those who have not been eaten by you. Life-releasing rituals will also accumulate virtuous merits for them. These Dharma practice methods that directly turn evil conditions into virtuous ones should be practiced to speed up the process. Otherwise, it will take a long time, as long as 3 great Asamkhya Kalpa. If you want to attain Buddhahood in this very lifetime, you must certainly do a whole lot more things. And it must be ones that prescribe the right medicine for the right disease, not some incorrect and irrelevant medicines. Only by prescribing the right medicine for the right disease can it speed up the whole process. And you must dedicate all the merits to them and help them accumulate resources that can get them out of their predicament. For example, you should directly recite their names, such as all sentient beings eaten and killed by. If my name is Doan Chen, I will name them all sentient beings eaten and killed by Doan Chen, to whom I would like to dedicate the merits of my Dharma practice. For example, you should recite the dedication verses, set up memorial tablets, and make a smoke offering for them. You should dedicate your merits to them during the Dharma practice, and you need to recite their names after practicing the Dharma. So, you have to create a group for them. What group? It is impossible for us to recite the name of every sentient being. For example, on January 1st, we ate fish, and on February 2nd, we ate pork. It is impossible to dedicate merits this way. So, we create a group to include all the sentient beings I have killed and eaten in it. All of our virtuous merits will then be dedicated to the sentient beings in this group. As for life releasing, I also have to help those beings who I have not eaten. All the above virtuous merits will be dedicated to those who have been eaten, or those who have not been eaten by me. I will help them all. Fourthly, suppose you see, hear, or know that someone has harmed a sentient being in their own compassion for the sake of your interests. Like, your mother told you that she had slaughtered a chicken for you. She did it for you. So, you wanted to find a way to help her as soon as possible, didn't you? You must explain the truth to these people. But you said your mother would not listen. Even if she did not listen, you also needed to dedicate more virtuous merits to her to untie the knot. In particular, you needed to help the chicken she killed and asked it not to resent your mother. Please don't hate my mother. I'll definitely help you to get rid of the animal body. You needed to offer a special explanation to dissuade them from continuing this kind of killing and then say this to your mother. Do you know that if you slaughter a chicken for me, I'll have to practice the holy Dharma for several months? If you don't want me to go to bed too late, and also make a lot of trouble for yourself, stop slaughtering chickens for me. Let's eat something else. Don't kill it yourself. Just buy from the market. You should explain to her this way. If she continues to slaughter, you have to refuse to accept it, saying that you will not have the soup. If you do not have it, she will not make it next time. She will not kill a chicken then. If it's not killed by yourself, but bought from the market, I'll have the soup. Then it will be fine. You must offer these explanations. Fifthly, you should practice the above-mentioned Dharma methods for the sake of those beings who have been hurt and those who have done wrong, because of you, namely your mother, in order to resolve these evil causes and conditions, as well as the evil minds. Sixthly, if someone makes offerings or presents some objects, or food that are not acquired through direct harming of the interests of sentient beings, such as being bought from the market, then you can accept or eat them. But you must accept them with the mentality of saving these sentient beings. In other words, why do you accept the flesh of these sentient beings to eat? It is to save them. You must have this kind of mentality. For these involved sentient beings, you must at least practice the few Dharma methods I have just mentioned to resolve any related evil causes and conditions and evil minds. Seventhly, if we have any doubts whether the giver obtained these objects or food by inappropriate methods for our benefit, we all have a responsibility to clarify, was this chicken killed for me? It is your responsibility to ask clearly before eating. Well, let us get back to Devadatta. Devadatta committed 5 cardinal sins of primitive Buddhism: destroying the Sangha, splitting Buddhism, and betraying Buddhism. Not only that, but he also sent killers to murder Lord Buddha Shakyamuni in order to win the position of the leader of Buddhism. He was an extremely negative figure, and he devised many schemes to kill Lord Buddha Shakyamuni. Stated in the Ekatara Agama, Devadatta ended up in hell and suffered tremendous pain physically. Let us talk about who Devadatta was. Why did he go from being very noble to falling into hell? He was Lord Buddha Shakyamuni's cousin. According to the Buddhist sutras, Devadatta was born on the 7th of April between 7 and 9 o'clock in the morning. His height was 6 feet and 4 inches, which was very tall indeed. He was born into a big family, the Sokya clan. Of course, it was the surname of a large family. He was intelligent and had supernatural powers through his Dharma practice. He was very capable. He had good looks. He was very good-looking. According to the 10 recitations Vinaya, Dasabhavra Vinaya, Devadatta was ordained as a monk and practiced the holy Dharma diligently for 12 years. He practiced the holy Dharma with kindness, read and recited the sutras, asked questions, received Dharma teachings, and sat for meditations. He did them all. He was very diligent in Dharma practice. Therefore, he learned every Dharma method taught by the Lord Buddha. He was very knowledgeable and very diligent in his Dharma practice. The Great Tang records on the western regions recorded that Master Xuanzang came to a large stone room at the time, which was the place where Devadatta meditated. He practiced the holy Dharma and meditated there for 12 years. Even Master Xuanzang came to visit it. He really practiced the holy Dharma diligently. The stone room is still preserved to let people know how he practiced the holy Dharma to the point of gaining supernatural powers. Why did Devadatta still go astray despite his great achievements in Dharma practice? It turned out that he went to the Raja city to preach the Dharma at that time and was supported through offerings by Ajatashatru, the prince of the Magadha kingdom. It was owing to his supernatural powers, good looks, extensive knowledge, and sufficient endurance in ascetic practices. Devadatta only ate once a day, and it was a full vegetarian meal. Ordinary people did not know, and all thought that he was incredible. Prince Ajatashatru was not yet a king at that time. Every morning, he gathered hundreds of wagons with royal relatives, nobles, and friends to pay their respects to Devadatta. He performed a disciple's salute and sent his greetings to Devadatta. He even brought the best offerings of food and drinks in hundreds of wagons every morning to Devadatta and his followers. Later, the Lord Buddha returned to the city of Raja along the Ganges River. Soon after, the split of Sangha incident occurred. How did it occur? With Devadatta's intelligence, eloquence, erudition, meditation, and asceticism, he practiced asceticism. When he propagated the Dharma in Magadha, he demonstrated all kinds of supernatural powers, and was praised by everybody and deeply respected by Prince Ajatashatru. Because of these, people in the city of Raja, be it ordained or lay people, all respected and admired him very much. His limelight overshadowed Lord Buddha Shakyamuni. He claimed to have the same surname as Lord Buddha Shakyamuni and was born in the Sokya family. So, Devadatta came up with a reason. At first, he was more polite, and had yet to attack the Lord Buddha with the theory of total vegetarianism. He said this in the beginning: the Lord Buddha has been exhausted because of teaching all 4 groups of disciples. In order to save sentient beings, you have been spreading the Dharma everywhere. You must be very tired already. Why not step down from your position? He demanded people from the Lord Buddha, asking the Lord Buddha to give him all the disciples. He said, "Give me all the members of the entire Buddhist group. Abdicate, and make me the religious leader. It was time you retired, given your old age." In fact, he was even older than Lord Buddha. Look at yourself. You seem so exhausted. Devadatta might have been pampered and living comfortably all this while, for he did not have to run around, but only preached the Dharma in Magadha. On the contrary, Lord Buddha Shakyamuni had been traveling all around the country to spread the Dharma, and it was very tiring. So, Devadatta used this reason to ask the Lord Buddha to step down. He demanded, "Let the Sangha belong to me, and I shall lead them all. Give me all the Sangha members, and I will lead them. And I shall make all the necessary arrangements." How did the Lord Buddha reject him? "I have a disciple, Shariputra, who is the first in wisdom. I also have another disciple, Maudgalyana, who is first in supernatural powers. Both of them are much more capable than you, be it wisdom or supernatural powers. I haven't handed over these responsibilities yet to them, let alone you, Devadatta. Let alone you." He scolded him by saying this, "A foolish eater of spittle. A fool who slobbered over the position of the religious leader." The Lord Buddha scolded him like this. "It means, your coveting my position is nothing more than wishful thinking." According to the sutra, Devadatta was scolded like this, and I just copied it from the sutra. According to the Buddhist sutras of Theravada Buddhism and Mahayana Buddhism, Devadatta failed in demanding people. After failing to demand believers from Lord Buddha Shakyamuni, he had resentment. Hence, the incident of complete vegetarianism occurred. Precepts were recited. Devadatta publicly attacked Lord Buddha Shakyamuni and 500 people. Later, Shariputra and more 500 people not to listen to Devadatta. He will get you into trouble. If you follow him, you won't be able to achieve success in your Dharma practice. You will all fall into hell. Do you know that it is a heavy sin to disharmonize and split the Sangha? If you conspire with him, you will commit the same sin. Go back and repent quickly, otherwise, the consequences will be very serious in the future. Do not follow Devadatta. Accepting their advice, more than 500 people returned to Lord Buddha Shakyamuni's group. So, Devadatta was outrageous and vowed to take revenge. What happened then? At that time, Ajatashatru was still a prince. Devadatta encouraged the prince to plot to usurp the throne. He told the prince that he had no power now. So, Devadatta taught him, "First ask your father to give you an army." His father was very fond of his son and really gave him an army. "Is the troop under your command now? Has everyone obeyed you? Can they all be trusted? Now go to the palace to arrest your father and lock him up. Then tell everyone that your father is ill, and now you will rule on his behalf. You can then claim to be king yourself." As expected, Prince Ajatashatru followed Devadatta's plan and became the king. When he became the king, he had power. And so did Devadatta. With power, he could send killers to murder the Buddha. So, he sent someone to assassinate the Lord Buddha. For example, knowing which mountain road the Lord Buddha would pass through, Devadatta pushed a boulder down from the mountain in an attempt to crush the Lord Buddha to death. He drugged the elephants to drive them mad, and then let them out so that they could trample the Lord Buddha to death. He tried to use poisonous claws to scratch the Lord Buddha. He also once threw a wagon out and tried to smash the Lord Buddha to death. He did a lot of bad things, so many horrible things, which were spread later. Even Ajatashatru, who had become the king, was afraid of Devadatta, because he even dared to kill the Buddha. So, King Ajatashatru gradually alienated him. Devadatta was very angry. One day, he went to the palace and asked to see King Ajatashatru. But King Ajatashatru refused to see him and decided to estrange Devadatta. He was very angry and upset, feeling that this was unreasonable. "I helped you to become the king, and now you totally gave me the cold shoulder, and are returning my kindness with ingratitude. He was furious. Everybody's speaking ill behind my back. That's a bit much. They don't know how to practice the holy Dharma at all. Unexpectedly, he met a bhikshuni named Utpalavana at the gate of the palace. She scolded him, "It's wrong to do these, and you've violated the precepts. So, even the king is ignoring you now, isn't he? You've come out even before you got to see him." She was mocking him like that. Devadatta was humiliated into anger. He punched and kicked Bhikshuni Utpalavana to death. He committed a lot of evil karma. Why would all these happen? It turned out that he had already had a grudge against Lord Buddha Shakyamuni many lifetimes ago. The death of the elder's son due to the inappropriate treatment by the great doctor is just one of the cases. There are many more similar cases. Because of the grudge between them in their countless lifetimes in the past, Devadatta once swore, "I will follow you forever, and I will destroy whatever you do." You established Buddhism and became its leader. I am here to destroy it. This is exactly why Devadatta was like that. For example, the Lord Buddha made an order that all disciples who followed the Buddha to get ordained must not be discriminated against by their respective castes. The concept of the caste system in India is deeply rooted. The Lord Buddha said that all monks or nuns were equal regardless of their castes, be they were an aristocrat, a commoner, or a lower-class ethnic group. As long as they could accomplish in their Dharma practices, they would be the high-level arhats. And in the future, they could attend any Dharma event that only arhats were allowed to attend. However, Devadatta ignored and did not obey this order. Lord Buddha Shakyamuni was once a prince. At that time, Lord Buddha Shakyamuni used to be a prince. Later, he attained Buddhahood after he became a monk. Some of the monks who followed Lord Buddha Shakyamuni to practice the holy Dharma were from the Sakya family. They would think that the Lord Buddha used to be a prince from the Sakya family, and they belonged to the same ethnic group as him. So they would have a sense of superiority over the others. After the Buddha enters Mahaparinirvana, it should be us, the monks of the Sakya family, who lead the Buddhist group. It does not have to be someone who cultivated well. In short, it must be led by monks from Lord Buddha Shakyamuni's clan. Devadatta thus formed a four-companion party, all of whom were from the Sakya clan. Therefore, they felt they should be the leader, because they came from the Sakya clan. And there was Chabagya, a set of 6 monks who supported Devadatta against the Lord Buddha Sakya family, or were closely related to felt superior, and did not accept the equality precept was created by and for the lower-class people to follow, which they it. They felt that there was no such thing as equality, only classes. Apart from that, Devadatta had many different views on the precepts. He proposed 5 new precepts that were more inclined towards asceticism, but not beneficial to the propagation of the Dharma. Lord Buddha Shakyamuni rejected all of them, and did not accept Devadatta's proposal. So, he hated Lord Buddha Shakyamuni very much. Later generations referred to these 5 methods as Devadatta's 5 rules, also known as the God-given 5 tapas, because they were claimed to be God-given, the meaning of Devadatta's name in Pali, and so you must accept and uphold them. They are also called Devadatta's 5 austerities, and the people were told that they could accomplish success in their Dharma practices by doing these 5 things. There are different versions in the Buddhist sutras about the content of these 5 precepts. I will give one example, and you will see what they are like. As stated in the 10 recitations Vinaya, Dasabhavra Vinaya, Volume 4, first, Devadatta said that the monks should only wear robes made of discarded rags in their whole life, that is, beggars' clothes, ragged and dirty clothes. Wearing slightly clean clothes is also considered an offense of the precept. Second, the monks should live entirely on alms obtained by begging in their whole lives. They can only beg for food until the day they die. They cannot buy food with their own money. Neither can they go to work to make money to buy food for themselves. In short, you cannot live on anything other than those things given by others. You have to live through begging. Sitting in the palace and asking the king to make offerings is also not acceptable. Only alms obtained by begging are allowed. Third, the monks should only accept 1 meal per day throughout their lives. They can only have 1 meal a day. Fourth, the monks should meditate in the open throughout their lives. They must not own their own houses. In summer, they must sit in the sun to practice the holy Dharma. In cold winter, they can build a grass hut and hide in it to practice the holy Dharma, but they cannot build a house. This is called meditation in the open. Fifth, the monks should abstain completely from fish and meat throughout their lives. This is the most important thing Devadatta used to attack Lord Shakyamuni Buddha, with which he believed that he would definitely win. The other 4 rules might not be able to beat the Buddha. Devadatta said eating meat was a violation of the precepts, and it was the same as having no compassion. He thought that he would definitely defeat Lord Buddha Shakyamuni on this point. So, he focused on this point to fight the Lord Buddha. The monks must not consume meat for their entire lives. You will see that there is one common characteristic in the precepts set by Devadatta, which is quite extreme and out of balance. How could you ask a disciple to still practice the holy Dharma like this? It is impossible. They would all faint from the sun and die of heat stroke. They would freeze to death in a grass hut because of the cold. Then, they would die of malnutrition. If you do this, you will die before you even practice the holy Dharma. This is a loss of balance. The lack of balance in terms of the body is still not the most important matter. The attachment and extremeness of the mind is the major problem. The lack of balance will make it difficult for the Dharma practitioners to accomplish, nor is it beneficial to sentient beings. It was these 5 cardinal sins and the act of destroying the harmony of the Sangha that caused Devadatta's downfall into hell. It also caused the conflicts between the monks who came from the family of Lord Buddha Shakyamuni and those who did not. Because the Sakya clan felt that they were superior to others, they wanted to be the leader. Those who disobeyed their leadership would be criticized and denounced for violating the precepts. With this, the cause that led to the split of Buddhism thus appeared. Recorded in Ekatara Agama, Volume 47, Devadatta later fell into hell. The Lord Buddha said to Venerable Ananda. As Devadatta was Ananda's elder brother, the Buddha had to explain to Ananda where his elder brother had gone. Ananda also asked the Buddha, after his elder brother died, "Where has he gone?" So, the Lord Buddha explained to Ananda where Devadatta would be reborn in the future. He made a very important point. When Devadatta died, the moment he got drowned, he was burned by the ground fire. This is interesting. Despite drowning in water, the pain he felt was as if he was burned by fire, but not drowning in water. How strange. When he was burned by the fire, he developed a mind of repentance. He had always thought his cultivation method was the best and would definitely pull it off. How come I did not go to the realm of heaven after death? Why have I not been liberated from samsara? Why am I being burned instead? Only then did he wake up and realize that he had been wrong. He began to feel that he was wrong. Only at that moment did he realize that he was wrong and repent. Lord Buddha Shakyamuni said in the sutra that Devadatta would have to stay in hell to be burned for the period of auspicious eon, Bhadrakalpa. How long is the auspicious eon? The auspicious eon is also known as the current eon, the one that we are living in now. There will be 1,000 Buddhas born in this period. According to the exoteric Buddhist teachings, Lord Buddha Shakyamuni is the 4th Buddha. However, the esoteric Buddhism believes him to be the 7th one. It means that there are still 993 Buddhas yet to come. Is it not a very long time? It will take a long time for the next Buddha to come. And it will be very long before Buddha Maitreya comes, long after we are all gone. What is a kalpa? A kalpa means a long period of time. An antakalpa is equal to the time it takes for the universe to go through the process of formation, persistence, disintegration, and annihilation once. 20 antakalpas are equal to 1 asankhyakalpa, and 4 asankhyakalpas are 1 mahakalpa. Therefore, a rough estimate of a kalpa, not absolutely accurate, is that it lasts for 4.32 billion years. Think about it. Devadatta had to burn in hell for as long as the entire auspicious eon before he could get out. It was so miserable. Why could he get out? Because he repented at the moment of death. Even so, it still requires 1 auspicious eon's period of time. Does it mean that it was too late to repent at the moment of death? Yes, it was too late. That is why it requires 1 auspicious eon's period of time. Does this mean that the sooner you repent, the better? Yes. Lord Buddha Shakyamuni said that after Devadatta had suffered for 1 auspicious eon, he would be able to be reborn in the realm of heavens and stay there for 60 kalpa. He would not fall into the 3 lower realms again. He can enjoy happiness in the realm of heavens, one above the human realm, for 60 kalpa, because he had done good deeds in the past after all. In the end, he will take rebirth and be ordained as a monk in his last life, receiving the 3 Dharma robes, and then become a Pratyeka-Buddha. There should not be the word Buddha added, as I have said before. Pratyeka means enlightening and awakening by oneself. They can enter the 5 heavens of non-returning, within the heavens of the form realm. That is, they can be liberated from samsara, but cannot enter the realm of oneness. So strictly speaking, they cannot be called a Buddha. However, since everyone calls it that way, I just follow suit. As a matter of fact, they cannot enter the realm of oneness, for they have not attained the real perfect enlightenment. The name of the Pratyeka-Buddha that Devadatta will become is called Namo. Lord Buddha Shakyamuni made such a prediction, which we call a prophecy. Alright. Let us take a look. Devadatta was very diligent in his Dharma practice, being very self-disciplined, hard-working, and persevering. He never ate meat all his life. He possessed supernatural powers. But he had an evil mind. We can know from the case of Devadatta that you will not succeed if your mind training is poor, regardless of how strict and accomplished you are in terms of meditational power, precepts, and asceticism. This is also true even if you never eat meat throughout your life, which is already considered a very compassionate deed. How was his mind training not good? He even sent people to assassinate the Lord Buddha. He encouraged Prince Ajatashatru to usurp the throne, imprisoned his biological father, and later starved him to death. Do you know how evil this kind of behavior is? Even the disciple he taught was so evil. So, what can we still say about his mind training? Karma was also wrong, resulting in his being dragged into hell by his karmic force. Hence, most of the Dharma practitioners nowadays, especially those who practice the esoteric Buddhism, have the same misunderstanding. For example, esoteric Buddhist practitioners may think like this: I visualized that deity so clearly. I've been given lots of empowerments. I know how to perform lots of rituals and do smoke offerings. I also know how to arrange for the smoke offerings, what can and cannot be burned. As for other ordinary Dharma practitioners, who have recited mantras and Buddha's holy names several trillion times, will they have any merit in the end? Yes, they will. Any good deeds you have done will definitely have merits. But is this kind of merit enough to enable you to be liberated from samsara, and to attain Buddhahood in a Buddha's pure land? It still depends on how you train your mind, and whether you have prescribed the right medicine for the right disease. That is to say, it requires a combination of many things, not just one of them. Even if you repent immediately after falling into hell, since your repentance is done too late, you will still have to endure a great deal of pain before you can escape from hell. So, when do you need to repent? You need to repent as quickly and accurately as possible. It means that you can only do it when your intrinsic awareness is very high. What does it mean by quickly? Quickly means that when an evil thought arises, before the evil thought turns into an action, your intrinsic awareness already arises, and you can already sense it and then stop this kind of behavior. This is called quickly. And you need to immediately repent upon the occurrence of such evil thoughts. Accurately means you need to find out the root of your mistakes accurately. Otherwise, it will be repeated in the future. We want to never make the same mistake again. This is accurate. Quickly and accurately. Let us go back to this case. The Lord Buddha said to Shariputra, "Do you know it was me who gave the elder's son some improper medicines at that time, which resulted in his death? Because of this kind of cause and condition, I was burned and boiled in hell for thousands of years, and suffered the retributions of falling into the realm of animals, and the realm of hungry ghosts." How could he get out later? Because he used to be a great doctor, and had a compassionate heart after all. He later repented and was able to get out in the end. But the sins could not be completely eliminated. Despite thousands of years of suffering plus repentance, his evil karma still could not be completely eliminated. Because of the residual causes and conditions, my bones will still hurt here and there, even though I've already attained Buddhahood. My bones and joints still suffer from multiple problems continuously, because I was too late to repent back then. I repented too late. The connections of karma were already established, and with that, some irreversible multiplying effects were generated. That is why he suffered an incalculable multiple retributions. You may ask, how did it get connected? What are these irreversible multiplying effects? How come it was increased in multiple times? Let me give you an example. You used some incorrect medicines, but they were not poisons. They were very mild medicines, and would not have any side effects on people. But you did not prescribe the right medicines for the right disease. Didn't this cause a delay in the treatment? Even if you were sued, you would not be successfully convicted, because they could not find any problems in the medicine list you prescribed, and the medicines were not found to be poisonous. So, why did the elder's son die? Legally, he died of his own illness. Would the great doctor go to jail? Of course, he would not. Because there was nothing illegal in this regard. So, people would follow suit. Many sentient beings from the spiritual realm would also follow suit when they saw it. They would think they would be fine even if they used tricks to harm other people, and yet still claimed that they were right confidently and unapologetically. Then, they would go harm people and make them suffer or die. People who died because of this would also hate you, and you would have your evil retributions. In short, after following you and learning your methods to harm others, you will also have to share and bear the pain that those people endure, and the evil retributions when they recover the debts. It is because you taught those people how to do it. You may say that you also learn it from others. If you copy what other does, that person will have to share and bear all your evil retributions. But if you do it and someone else copies you, you will also suffer the evil retributions of that person's actions. As such, the retributions will occur in multiples. It is difficult, or impossible to resolve. As a result, Lord Buddha Shakyamuni still had to repay it after becoming a Buddha. The Lord Buddha said to Sariputra, "Look at the Tathagata. Look at me. I am already a Buddha. All the evil causes and conditions have been removed. And I have all the good causes and conditions. Yet, I still have to suffer from such causes, conditions, and retributions, not to mention those sentient beings who are ignorant, stubborn, and have not attained enlightenment." What is ignorance and stubbornness? What is attainment of enlightenment? Let us take a look now. The ignorance, foolishness, and stubbornness in Buddhism refer to the lack of intrinsic awareness. You cannot see or know where you are wrong. If you do not know where you are wrong, you cannot find a way to save yourself. That is, you cannot be liberated from samsara, or attain Buddhahood. If you have practiced the holy Dharma to have the ability to detect or know where you are wrong, you have that intrinsic awareness. Once you have cultivated intrinsic awareness, it means that you have found a way to save yourself, and you have attained enlightenment, and have the correct method to practice the holy Dharma. It also means that you can be liberated from samsara, or attain Buddhahood. So, how can this kind of intrinsic awareness be aroused? With what kind of method? The answer is to understand the mind training procedure. How do we apply the mind training procedure in accordance with the Diamond Sutra to practice the holy Dharma? Let us take the great doctor, one of the previous lives of Lord Buddha Shakyamuni, as an example. This great doctor was very capable. He could use all kinds of medicines and could cure all sorts of diseases. He was a famous doctor and was well respected by people. Usually, the more capable a person is, the more dignity they have, and the easier it is for them to develop a kind of self-arrogance. Being attached to and pride in one's own abilities is called self-arrogance. Once this kind of dignity is offended, there will be instant hatred and great anger. Let us take a look at his character. Because he had this capability, but he was not using it well, he developed such self-arrogance. His character is that he did not like to be deceived, nor did he like to be oppressed. He liked to use his capabilities to counteract this kind of oppression. He also liked to connive at his actions and thoughts for various reasons. He did not like to search for his own faults. His character is described as above. Let us start with the first character. He disliked being deceived or oppressed by others. This is abiding in notions, abiding in the thought of disliking to be deceived. Notions means forms, appearances, thoughts, or views. That is, your view is that you do not like to be deceived by others. You are attached to the disliking of being deceived by others, which can easily lead to hatred, jealousy, or ignorance. The doctor was jealous of the elder's son, who relied on his status to oppress him. This is a kind of jealousy. There is also self-arrogance, for he felt that he was a great doctor. He also suspected that the elder's son was going to deceive him again. Hatred, ignorance, jealousy, arrogance, and doubt were all there. He liked to use his own capability to fight against this kind of oppression. This is something derived from abiding in notions, because you are attached to the situation where you become furious for being deceived. Then you will resist with your own ability. This is a kind of abiding in notions, which is derived from an extreme attachment. The result is that you will develop ignorance and self-arrogance. If you like to connive at your own behaviors and thoughts for various reasons, this is another kind of abiding in notions. It is self-deception. You really want to take revenge and resist, but you also know that doing so may kill him, and you will feel regretful in your conscience. So, you will use many reasons to convince yourself that you are right. Self-deception is an act that arises to avoid the condemnation of one's own conscience. If you have this phenomenon, it means your greed, hatred, ignorance, and arrogance have arisen. He was not keen on looking for his own faults. This is abiding in notions in a kind of escape mentality. Remember that there is an escape mentality whenever you do not like to see where you are wrong, which is being ignorant, foolish, and stubborn. You will conform entirely to the kind of ignorance, foolishness, and stubbornness that Lord Buddha Shakyamuni referred to. And you will be hopeless, then. Why? Because you do not like to look for your faults. Why are all people in this world not successful in their Dharma practices? Why do they still continue to reincarnate? It is all because they hate to see where they go wrong. People only like to see where others go wrong. They are pleased to see where others go wrong, and then they would accuse that person, conniving themselves to do a lot of things against this person with many excuses. But they never do anything to improve themselves, because they never like to see where they themselves are wrong. All disputes in the world, within the family, or about anything, occur because we only see where others are wrong, and do not like to see where we go wrong. Therefore, greed, hatred, ignorance, jealousy, arrogance, and doubt all appear, leading to endless samsara. Well, what is the mind training procedure like? As I said before, the first step is acceptance. Suppose the great doctor accepted it, then why should I heal him? Although he oppresses me, I can tell him that without money he cannot be healed. Although the doctor was deceived the first time, he could ask for payment when the elder's son asked for treatment the second time. Alternatively, the elder's son could either pay some deposit first, or pay what he owed last time plus the deposit for this time, before getting the treatment. You could do this or use other methods to solve the real problem. Why did you still treat him without charging him, or asking him to pay first? Why did you still force yourself to treat him for the fourth time, and even use fake medicines, instead of prescribing the right medicine for the right disease? Well, he did not use fake medicines. But he did not prescribe the right medicine to treat him, nevertheless. The reason is that you wanted to show respect to the elder. The reality was that he was the elder's son after all. This elder was highly respected. If you did not treat his son, some people might say, the elder is so virtuous and asked your favor to treat his son, yet you still refused. The doctor might be worried that his reputation would be damaged, and there might be consequences if he did not show due respect to the elder. It could be due to the concern for this consequence, fearing that someone would no longer respect him as before, or many other reasons that he continued to treat him. This is because he was unwilling to accept this reality, yet he did not use some correct methods to solve it. If you really want to treat him for some reason you think you must accept, it is better to accept it. You really accept that you will treat him for the sake of your own face, for the dignity of the elder, for many reasons. I'll go to treat him. I won't kill him. I won't prescribe the wrong medicine for his illness. That is, you must accept this reality. If you accept it, you will not have to suffer in hell for thousands of years later. Therefore, the first step of the mind training procedure is that you must accept it. The second step is questioning. After accepting it, you will have a lot of emotional reactions and instability. Greed, hatred, ignorance, jealousy, arrogance, and doubt may appear to some extent. Ask yourself, am I angry? Do I still hate him? You can ask related people, ask family members, and tell them that you are angry. After you have asked everyone, do not get emotional while you are asking. What is acceptance? Acceptance is beneficial. When you accept it and then try to untie the knot, your meditational power will appear. If you do not accept it, you will be very irritable and hot-tempered. You will not be able to ask accurate questions when you are like this. You only know that you have lost your mind. So, we must accept it first, calm ourselves down, and then slowly resolve it. Ask yourself and observe your emotions. When asking someone and if they say, yes, you're wrong to do so. Do not get angry immediately and say, none of your business. You cannot be like this. If you ask relevant people who offer their views, they may not necessarily be correct. They only provide a point of reference. When receiving these answers, you must not get emotional. If you do, ask yourself why you have this kind of emotional reaction. After gathering and unifying their views, ask some wise people to see how they will answer these questions. Then analyze it to see if there are any deviations in your feelings, thoughts, and views, and whether they have deviated from your Dharma practice. It could be that you are attached to the four notions very much. We then need to carry out root searching to understand why we violated the precepts, and where the worst part of our mind training is. Where was the root of the great doctor? It is that he disliked being deceived and oppressed by others. This is where his root lies. Even if he had put down his hatred for the elder's son and no longer hated him, suppose he was deceived and oppressed by others next time, his greed, hatred, ignorance, jealousy, arrogance, and doubt would recur because the root was not yet eradicated. So, as long as the root is not eradicated, he would continue reincarnation. No matter how he had repented in this case, it only helped to resolve the feud with the elder's son, but not his root and character, which would resurface in the future, causing him to repeat the same mistake. So, he must dig the root out. He also had another Achilles heel. He did not like to look out for his faults. This is an Achilles heel. Anyone who has this Achilles heel could never be liberated from samsara. It is just impossible. This is basically the Achilles heel of all sentient beings. Once we have found our roots and identified our Achilles heels, we must find the remedies to deal with them. It is best to use the remedies consistent with the Diamond Sutra to deal with them. How do we go about it? Let us look at what the greater doctor was thinking back then. First of all, he felt that confrontation was reasonable. Professional services should not be provided without payment. He felt, I did not poison you. I've only given you an irrelevant medicine, which was very mild and would not kill you. It's just that your illness didn't get treated, and so you died. You didn't get treated because you didn't pay, resulting in your failure to be saved and death. I've already gone above and beyond the call of duty by not pursuing the debt you owed me. He felt that he was not wrong. This is what the great doctor thought at that time. Let us try to resolve it now. How do we resolve it? Firstly, we need to know where the crux of our violating the precepts and worst performance in mind training is. First, he disliked being deceived or oppressed. Then, he must arouse a kind of intrinsic awareness. What is that kind of intrinsic awareness? That is, every time I am deceived or oppressed by others, I must feel that these are the debts I owed them in my past lives. Otherwise, how come I, despite being so intelligent, was still successfully deceived by others without reason? With my high ability, how could someone still succeed in oppressing me for no reason? That is really because you owed someone something. You owed others something in your past lives, which is why they could still oppress and deceive you successfully today. If I have the ability to repay the debts today, I still have to pay it off now, right? This is a kind of virtuous reward. You must know that you have owed others a lot of debts in your past lives. If one does not have the ability to repay the debts, it means they have already entered the realms of hungry ghosts or hells, and so they do not even have the ability to pay it off. How miserable they are. It is great to be able to repay the debts today. I owed this elder's son a lot of debts. He already has a lot, and I have nothing to repay him. Now he is ill, which is exactly what I am capable of repaying. I should be glad. I should feel that it is a good thing to have this kind of virtuous reward to repay the debts. It means that I will be more capable of being liberated from samsara in the future. It is also nice to have some of the debts I am carrying out of my way. How wonderful it is! In the future, your burden will not be so heavy. It will be easier for you to be liberated from the cycle of karmic existence. Therefore, you should have a heart of gratitude, and be grateful that you have such an opportunity and coincidence of causes and conditions to pay off this debt. Heart of equality. The reason to have a heart of equality is that this is a mutual interaction on an equal footing. What I owed him must be repaid, and it is very equal. There is no oppression. It is on an equal footing derived from the law of causes and effects. We must have such kind of intrinsic awareness. I can tell you that this kind of intrinsic awareness is something we must have to train our mind, especially when we practice the holy Dharma in daily life. If not, there will be many obstacles in your Dharma practice, and your practice will not be successful. Many people fail in Dharma practice because they do not have this kind of intrinsic awareness. If you have this kind of intrinsic awareness, the root that you do not like to be deceived and oppressed by others will be removed and resolved. It also means that you can achieve having no notion of a self, and you will no longer be attached to this root. That is, you will no longer be attached to things such as being deceived and oppressed by others. No notion of others. When interacting with others, you will not have more grudges with others because of this root. No notion of sentient beings. Even with sentient beings of other realms, there will be no such grudges. No notion of longevity. Even if someone who is superior to you oppresses you, it will not trigger this root to work. Then, you will not be attached to these four notions. If you can do it, you can even resolve your weak spot of liking to use your own capability to fight against this kind of oppression. Since you have already accepted it, how will you still go and fight against it? That is, there should be no resentment in your mind, but only gratitude and equality. You must have a heart of tolerance to achieve equality in the present moment. The meaning of in the present moment is that you do not care that the other party may have also owed you in the previous 500 lives. He also owed me, so why only say I owed him? Do not think like this. Stop thinking this way in the present moment. If you care about it like this, it means that you are reluctant to be liberated from samsara. Then you must continue to reincarnate. The grudges of those past hundreds of lives will continue to haunt you. So, you should definitely stop bothering about him. We are equal in the present moment. We are equal now. The debt has been paid, and there are already no more connections between us. What if the elder's son were ill for the 5th or the 6th time? It means that some of the remaining debts have not been paid off. Continue to pay them off. In this way, you can be equal, and in the future, there will be nothing bothering you anymore. It will be easier for you to enter the realm of oneness to attain Buddhahood. How can you still possibly enter the state of oneness while carrying things from the past hundreds of lives? Therefore, we must achieve equality in the present moment. Stop calculating it with a calculator. We must harbor a mentality of tolerance. If we can do this, then the 5th point, confrontation is reasonable, can also be resolved. You will not think that it is reasonable to confront the other party. You will no longer fight against it. You can also resolve the 10th issue. I did not chase the money you owed me. I did not collect the money from you. In this very present moment, I have already cut off the entanglement that has been bothering me for hundreds of lives, which is the cause of my continuous reincarnation. Of course, I will not pursue it any more or say you still owe me money. This has been resolved, as well. This is the remedy, and it uses the Diamond Sutra method. Secondly, he liked to use his own capability to counter any dissatisfaction. In that case, he needed to use this intrinsic awareness to remedy it. Whenever I have any ability, I must have a heart of gratitude, thinking that this ability must cooperate with all sentient beings and the environment to produce a successful effect. You say you know the medicines, but you still need to go to a medicinal herb store to get the medicines dispensed. It also requires someone to collect herbs from the mountain and refine them. This is to cooperate with the environment, where the herbs must grow first. Only when cooperating with the environment and sentient beings can you employ this kind of ability. You must also have a teacher, who taught you back then for you to learn the medical skills. You had to learn the basics. All things require the assistance of a large number of sentient beings as well as the environment, so that your ability can develop and take effect. So, shouldn't you be grateful? You need to be grateful for the matching of the causes and conditions of all sentient beings and these environments, which enable you to have the ability to repay it. Therefore, it is necessary to repay it to all sentient beings. So, when treating anyone, whether they have paid or not, every time you use your ability to help anyone, you must feel that it is an opportunity to repay them and have a heart of requital. You must think that you have owed so many sentient beings. Now you actually possess this ability, and have the opportunity to repay them. How good it is! You are willing to share your abilities with all sentient beings sincerely. You should feel that this ability should be shared with them, and this sharing is a sharing out of the heart of equality. When sharing results, do not think, I'm superior to you. I'm responsible for the treatment, while you're only dispersing the medicines. So, you're inferior. You only get a smaller share. There is no such distinction between high and low or good and bad. It is to be shared equally, both for ourselves and others. If you can achieve this level, you will not use your ability as a tool to harm others. Because harming others is equivalent to harming oneself. Remember, this is how the causes and effects work. Harming others means harming oneself, and benefiting others means benefiting oneself. Just remember this formula. Every time you harm others, remember that you are harming yourself. Whenever you help others, you are helping yourself. Just remember this. This is the law of causes and effects. If you can do this, there will be no more self-attachment. When interacting with others, sentient beings, and those who are superior to you, these attachments will be completely gone. That is, you can achieve no notions of others, sentient beings, and longevity. Furthermore, you can even resolve the third weakness of liking to connive at your own behavior and thoughts for various reasons. In addition, we must know that when we use our abilities to harm others, we will actually rely on the abilities of other sentient beings and the environment to pull it off. So, the resultant evil retributions will be much more complicated. For example, you went to a medicinal herb store to get a medicine dispensed that could kill a particular person. The person who gave you the medicine, or helped you to get the medicine dispensed, would all be seemingly involved. They would think, what's going on? Apparently these medicines were used to harm people. Will I be blamed for it? So, they would hate you too. As for the environment, people who produced these medicines would think, will you use these medicines to harm others? These medicines were invented by me, and you use them to harm people. They would also hate you. So, you will find that if you use your ability to commit evil karma, it will not be as simple as dealing with the vengeance of the victims only. Because you have this ability to harm others, those who helped you to get this ability, the ones who assisted you to possess this ability, and even including the environmental factors, all these causes and conditions will give rise to dreadful phenomena. All of these will be added to your evil retributions, which will become very complicated. So, keep one thing in mind, use your abilities carefully. If you have the skills to treat diseases, but you are careless and have negligence in the medical treatment, the patient will resent you very much. You may say, I didn't do it on purpose. I was just not careful enough. Then why were you not careful? That person will still be so mad at you that he wants to kill you. So, use our abilities carefully. Respect your own abilities. For example, doctors are to patients as parents are to children. Treat patients like your own children. Do your best, and you will not be negligent, then. If you can do your best, others will know. Then, even if you accidentally make a medical error that results in their death, they will feel that you have already done your best and made all your efforts to cure them. They will not regard you as an enemy and chase after you for many lifetimes. Therefore, you must respect your own abilities. This is also one of the remedies, as well as the intrinsic awareness that you must have when practicing the holy Dharma. Remember dissatisfaction. What is dissatisfaction? I like to use my abilities to counter dissatisfaction. What does dissatisfaction mean? There will be dissatisfaction only when there is greed, hatred, ignorance, jealousy, arrogance, and doubt. Otherwise, why would there be dissatisfaction for no reason? It means you have failed to balance your emotions. Ability is something of a positive or neutral nature, depending on how you use it. On the other hand, dissatisfaction is a kind of negative energy. You cannot use neutral things to connect with negative things. If you do so, it will make your abilities go in the wrong direction and deviate. And you will cause more trauma by using your abilities. Fewer abilities, more damage. Therefore, the ability you have must not be connected with any negative energy, such as dissatisfaction. Once connected, it will cause a trouble. So, we must remember this in our Dharma practice. Use our abilities carefully. Ability is a neutral thing. Do not let it lean towards the negative energy side, but direct it towards the positive energy, so that you can multiply the merits, instead of multiplying the karma that leads to the downfall into hell. Thirdly, you do not like to search for your own faults. This is your Achilles heel. You do not like to find out where you go wrong. In that case, you need to understand that having intrinsic awareness means having the ability to know your own faults. How do you resolve it? No one likes to see their own faults. You need to know that not knowing where you are wrong means that you have no intrinsic awareness. Having intrinsic awareness is the same as having the ability to know what is wrong with oneself. It also means that there is a hope for salvation, which means that there is a chance to be liberated from samsara. How good it is! Of course, I hope to have intrinsic awareness. Therefore, we must have a heart of joy that we want to find the root whenever we see our faults. Why am I wrong? Where is the root? When you come up with a mind that can counteract this fault, you must have a feeling of enlightenment. We must arouse a heart of joy while looking for our root. It is really hard to find it, but I have found it and know how to remedy it. My intrinsic awareness has arisen, and I am enlightened. Otherwise, how would I know the remedial measures? You must have this kind of intrinsic awareness. Remember, fear not of the rise of thoughts, fear only the delay of awareness. What does this sentence mean? I am not afraid that any evil thoughts will arise in me because this is due to the habitual patterns accumulated over my many lifetimes, whereby many evil thoughts will arise in my subconscious mind. This is not the point, and it should never be. Just like there is rubbish and dust in a room. That is not the point. The point is whether there is a way to remove it. How do we remove it? It is to arouse our intrinsic awareness. In fact, this is an oral pith instruction of our Dharma practice. I shall not be frightened if any evil thought arises. I can't believe that I actually wanted to kill that person. I must kowtow 50 times in front of the Buddhist altar. The most important thing is to arouse your intrinsic awareness. It is useless to kowtow until your forehead bleeds. What does it mean to have intrinsic awareness arise? It means you know that this thought is wrong. You still have a heart of equality, knowing that this is a mutual interaction on an equal footing. Where there is a cause, there will be an effect. This is the law of causes and effects. Blaming others means blaming ourselves. We should not blame them. Suppose you blamed that it was his fault for forcing you to heal him. In that case, you must know that scolding him is exactly the same as scolding yourself, because it means that you are unwilling to repay the debts, and the debts accumulated will never be cleared in the future. And you will have to pay back more in your next life due to the multiplying effects. You will only have yourself to blame, then. So, do not care where others are wrong. Only care where you have done wrong. Why? This shows that you can be saved. So, remember this. How do we resolve this Achilles heel that no one can resolve, as it is the Achilles heel that everyone has? It is to have these intrinsic awareness. If you can do this, it means that you can achieve no notions of a self, others, sentient beings, and longevity. You will no longer be obsessed. These are all bad people. They just want to oppress me. They have done this and that wrong. You never examine your own faults, but only see the faults of others. Whether others can be saved is unknown. I do not know if other people will save themselves and see their own faults. One may not accept the mistakes you tell him. But if you refuse to see where you are wrong, you will definitely be hopeless. So, should you focus on saving yourself or on others by constantly pointing out where others are wrong? It is better to save yourself first. If you know where you are wrong, you can save yourself. This is the best outcome. If it can be done, the fourth point of did not like to look out for his faults can be resolved. The seventh point, I didn't poison you. I only gave you some unrelated mild medicines. It's not me who caused your death, because I didn't poison you. You can tell that you are wrong on this point. It is wrong to not prescribe the right medicines for the right disease when treating someone. You did not tell the patient what you gave him was just inferior medicine, which was not the right medicine for the right disease. You'd better find another famous doctor. My medicines won't cure you. Please find another famous doctor yourself, or else you will die if you delay the treatment. You are wrong if you did not tell him the truth. It is wrong to use some forms of deception to deceive yourself and others that you are right. When you observe yourself using this method that arouses intrinsic awareness, you will not make these mistakes. The eighth point is that he also blamed the person that it was his own disease that killed him. The failure to seek medical treatment caused his own death. You will also find that this reason does not make sense. The ninth point, the reason for not treating him is that he did not pay for it, which caused his failure to be saved and death. You will find that this point is also wrong. You must continue to treat him no matter what. There must be a reason that you must do so, and this reason could be for fear of hurting someone's feelings. You must know that the fear of hurting someone's feelings is also a reason that you must accept. Since you have to accept it, you must do your best. Therefore, the 11th point, that you feel that you are not wrong, can also be resolved. This is the remedial method. Fourthly, he could easily misunderstand the truth and make mistakes. Why? It is correct that one does not deserve professional services if he does not pay. This is also a very important element why the great doctor misled himself, because of this very principle, and made himself do everything wrong. So, Lord Buddha Shakyamuni said that you could not enter the realm of oneness, because you were unable to achieve neither abiding in the notions of Dharma nor abiding in the notions of non-Dharma. Now, I will teach you how to tackle it when you rely on what you think is correct and the truth as a reason to self-righteously harm others. Fourthly, before we take any action, we must have this kind of intrinsic awareness. If we realize that there are gray areas and some dead knots that are difficult to untie, thinking about using some incorrect medicines to treat this person, we must think twice. What exactly are the gray areas? You feel very right that one should not get professional services without paying. Because you do not pay, I will give you an inferior service. This is what inferior service is like. If you do not pay, you will be given cheap medicines that are not the right ones for your disease. Of course, you will have to take cheap medicines. How could I still possibly give you expensive medicines at a loss to heal you? You would be thinking like this. These are the gray areas. But would such treatment lead to his death? Would he delay his treatment and die? These are the gray areas, the dead knots that are difficult to untie. The hard is that you kept thinking that if he did not pay, he should not deserve professional services, and if he did not pay, he should not deserve the right medications. Hence, this is a dead knot. Every time before you act, if you find these gray areas and dead knots, you will have to carry out the second step of the mind training procedure: questioning. Ask yourself, ask related people, and ask some wise people. They may give you different answers, in which you can find some good solutions. This is so that you can determine whether there are deviations and mistakes in your actions and thoughts. Your wisdom can be generated from the process. If there are any good results, you should also be grateful and dedicate them to all sentient beings. Because they have provided the answers, or said something that made you suddenly come to a solution. Even if the solution is not what they have told me, perhaps they have given me some clues to help me come to the solution. Likewise, I should still be grateful to these sentient beings and dedicate the merits to them. And I am willing to share this wisdom and ability with all sentient beings. Experience is the mother of wisdom. This helps me to get over this entanglement that prevents me from going in the right direction while still thinking it is the right thing to do. When I can solve it, it demonstrates a high degree of wisdom, which I would like to share with all sentient beings. If you can do this, you will definitely be able to achieve no notions of a self, others, sentient beings, and longevity. If the other party does not pay, you do not have to provide a service. But you cannot pretend and provide false services, that is for sure. If you understand that this is equal cause and effect, what is equal cause and effect? There are two types, intangible and tangible. Money is tangible. If he did not pay, you did not have the obligation to provide him with professional services. But why did you still continue to treat him? There is an intangible thing. That is, you had to give due respect for the elder. And you were afraid that your reputation would be damaged. These are intangible rewards. You were rewarded, in fact. Otherwise, why did you continue to heal him? There must be a reason for the continued treatment. You must accept it, be it tangible or intangible. Once you have accepted it, you need to provide professional services to treat him. You can then overcome your attachment to no pay, no professional services, as you can always tell him that he will not get any medical treatment if he does not pay. Alternatively, you should persuade yourself to accept it and continue to treat him for other reasons. If you have decided to treat him, you have to do your best. You cannot rationalize wrong behavior with reasons you think are right. The consequences will be very serious. This is precisely the remedy. According to the Diamond Sutra, Elder Subhuti told Lord Buddha Shakyamuni that his teaching was too profound for people to understand. Lord Buddha Shakyamuni immediately reprimanded him, "You must not say so. There are many sentient beings who have accumulated countless merits over many lifetimes. They will definitely be able to understand it. These sentient beings, they have already achieved the state of no longer abiding in the notions of a self. They are no longer attached to self. No notions of others. They do not have attachment to other people when interacting with them. No notions of sentient beings. There is also no attachment to sentient beings of other realms when interacting with them. No notions of longevity, neither do they have attachment when interacting with those sentient beings who are superior or of much advanced status. In addition, they neither abide in the notion of Dharma nor abide in the notion of non-Dharma. I believe you can easily understand the notions of a self, others, sentient beings, and longevity. The most difficult part for you to understand is neither abide in the notion of Dharma nor abide in the notion of non-Dharma. So, I will explain more about this. Neither abide in the notion of Dharma means not clinging to all kinds of dharmas, methods, or phenomena, because they are all in the dualistic or multiplistic states, which will prevent you from entering the realm of oneness and attaining Buddhahood. They are also called the conditioned phenomena. What is nor abide in the notion of non-Dharma? Non-Dharma is exactly emptiness, neither existence nor voidness. If you are not attached to the intrinsic awareness that can help you enter the state of oneness, it means you do not abide in the notion of non-Dharma, also known as the unconditioned phenomena. Suppose you have the ability, as I explained earlier, to know where you are wrong after you have made a mistake. You can find out the root, or the Achilles heel, and completely overcome it, using the methods I have just taught. You possess the 4 special kinds of intrinsic awareness, and can completely resolve the notions of a self, others, sentient beings, and longevity. If you can do it, you can be liberated from samsara, but you may not be able to attain Buddhahood. How can you attain Buddhahood? You need to achieve neither abiding in the notion of Dharma nor abiding in the notion of non-Dharma, before you can realize and enter emptiness to attain Buddhahood. I have only taught you how to get rid of the notions of a self, others, sentient beings, and longevity in the case just now. I have not taught you how to apply no notions of Dharma and non-Dharma in this case. I'll explain that now. We have talked about the 4 notions. What about no notion of Dharma? No notion of Dharma means that there is no correct way. You are attached to the 6th point, no pay, no professional services, which is the most challenging to tackle. You think this is the most correct principle, and the wisest saying. You think that this is the supposedly correct way. If you do not cling to this so-called correct way, you will think that one can still deserve professional services even without payment. Because this is what you owed the sentient beings. Many sentient beings have nurtured and helped me, without which I could not have the ability today. I also depend on the environment and sentient beings to put my ability to good use. I should use this professional knowledge whenever treating patients. I cannot decide whether to give the professional service based on money alone. If you no longer cling to the idea that this is the absolutely correct way, you will have achieved no notion of Dharma. That is, one can achieve no notion of Dharma if they are no longer attached to the thought that this is the most correct method. What is no notion of non-Dharma? In this case, suppose you do not think this way. I'm really awesome for not even clinging to this supposedly correct method. If the attachment of not adopting this correct method is also gone, it means you are not abiding in the notion of non-Dharma either. In this case, if one can achieve this level, it means they have achieved neither abiding in the notion of Dharma nor abiding in the notion of non-Dharma. The Diamond Sutra has 2 oral pith instructions. One is, should not abide anywhere and do not abide in notions. The other is not to abide anywhere to develop one's mind. We have made 2 types of keyrings. One is, should not abide anywhere and do not abide in notions. Another one is not to abide anywhere to develop one's mind. We will give you a pair as a souvenir today. After the Dharma ceremony has ended, you can come to me after drinking the sin-cleansing nectar, and each person will be given a pair. This is a keyring, so that you can always remember these 2 oral pith instructions. Let us see how these 2 pith instructions can be applied to this case. We will continue to explain how to apply them. According to the Buddhist Sutra, the Lord Buddha said to Sariputra, "Look at the Tathagata. I'm already a Buddha, who has eliminated all defilements and possessed all virtuous deeds. Even with such merits, I still can't get away from previous causes and conditions, let alone those who are ignorant, foolish, and have yet to attain enlightenment. Therefore, the only solution is to use the Diamond Sutra methods to deal with it. That is, should not abide anywhere and do not abide in notions. I have already taught you how not to abide in the first 4 of the 6 notions earlier, no notions of a self, others, sentient beings, and longevity. If you can do all these, you can only be liberated from samsara at best. To enter the Dharma realm of the state of oneness to attain Buddhahood, you will also need to achieve no notions of Dharma and non-Dharma. I have taught it earlier, the first oral pith instruction, should not abide anywhere and do not abide in notions. If we are not attached to any forms, appearances, concepts, thinking and thoughts, we can achieve do not abide in notions. This has been taught. The second oral pith instruction has not been taught. Why shall we not abide in any notions? The results and retributions of abiding in notions can be extended even after becoming a Buddha. As soon as you enter the dualistic or multiplistic states where substances aggregate and exist, you will have the retributions immediately. You can only avoid it when you enter the Dharma realm, the state of oneness. This also explains why many Buddhas will not come out to save you after entering the realm of oneness. If they all come out, there will be more than enough numbers of them to provide one-to-one teachings, one Buddha teaching one disciple. But why are so few Buddhas coming to save us now? There are only 1,000 Buddhas in the entire auspicious Aeon period. Now, in this time and space, we do not know how many thousands of years we have to wait for Buddha Maitreya to come. It may need to be calculated in trillions of years. Why? Because the causes and conditions are not strong enough. They also think that you can attain Buddhahood by being slowly enlightened yourselves. It will be hard work for them to come out from the state of oneness. Do you know it is very hard for firefighters to enter the fire scene to rescue people? The fact is that there are people who do not like to do it. Some Buddhas will not come out. Therefore, we need to establish more causes and conditions with them. The stronger the causes and conditions are, the more likely they will feel the need to come to rescue us. This is why Lord Buddha Shakyamuni wanted you to eat the threefold pure meat. Let us take a look at how to achieve the second oral pith instruction, not to abide anywhere to develop one's mind. You should possess these kinds of intrinsic awareness without being attached to them. What kinds of intrinsic awareness? The 4 kinds of intrinsic awareness taught earlier. I said that having these 4 kinds of intrinsic awareness can remedy completely the wrong actions and thoughts of the great doctor, as well those roots and Achilles' heels. We know that they can be resolved, and that these kinds of intrinsic awareness can help us. If we do not even get attached to this method, or this intrinsic awareness, we can possess this intrinsic awareness without being attached to it. And this kind of intrinsic awareness can arise freely and spontaneously without attachment, and it can naturally help us resolve all problems. We can use this kind of intrinsic awareness to solve all problems without being attached to it. In this way, we will be able to achieve not to abide anywhere to develop one's mind. This mind refers to intrinsic awareness. In other words, you must have this kind of intrinsic awareness. When your intrinsic awareness arises, and you do not even get attached to it, you are truly not abiding anywhere to develop one's mind. You do not abide in the intrinsic awareness to develop one's mind, yet you can still arouse this kind of intrinsic awareness. This whole sentence should be interpreted like this. Not to abide anywhere, here is not the same as the previous oral pith instruction. You may say that this sentence is similar to the other one, should not abide anywhere, and do not abide in notions. It requires you not to abide in notions. The meaning of not to abide anywhere to develop one's mind is that one should not abide in the intrinsic awareness. That is, one should not even be attached to the intrinsic awareness in order to develop one's mind to arouse that kind of intrinsic awareness. This is to explain that if you are not attached to the 4 kinds of intrinsic awareness that I taught earlier, you can achieve not to abide anywhere to develop one's mind. You must remember how miserable the previous life of Lord Buddha Shakyamuni was in this case. Never underestimate the consequences of rationalizing wrongdoings and evil behaviors. If you do, you will never find the root and will stay and suffer in hell forever. The great doctor already repented quickly, and yet he still had to suffer for so long. Devadatta only repented when he died, and he had to suffer a lot more. So, never underestimate the rationalization of wrongdoings and evil behaviors. How can this be done? Let us look at it again. You must be very familiar with this mind training procedure, memorize it, and put it into practice. Firstly, you must accept it. After accepting, you can calm down in your own space and time. Then, you need to ask questions. After questioning, you should do analysis with the answers given to you by others without any emotional reactions. After analysis, your goal is to find out the root and clearly see where the crux of your violating the precepts and worst performance in mind training is. Then, you need to think of some remedial methods that conform to the Diamond Sutra. If you cannot think of any, you can also use other methods that do not violate the precepts. After you have a preliminary outline and conclusion, you should use the correct Dharma practice methods to tackle the wrongdoings one by one. You should resolve all of them without missing any. The goal is to achieve, should not abide anywhere and do not abide in notion, and do not arouse any greed, hatred, ignorance, jealousy, arrogance, and doubt. If you do not train your mind to overcome it, the consequences will be very serious. And the meaning of not to abide anywhere to develop one's mind is to come up with and put into practice the correct Dharma practice methods with the intrinsic awareness that does not abide in notions. If you can do this, you can find your roots, and you will find the remedial methods that are in line with the Diamond Sutra. Also, do not give up. You will still have a chance to attain Buddhahood if you can repent. Do not give up. I will repeat it now to make a summary. How do we train our mind to be in line with the teachings of the Diamond Sutra? It concerns what intrinsic awareness you should have. First, every time you are deceived or oppressed by others, you must feel that it is a debt owed in a past life. Having the ability to repay the debt today is a kind of virtuous reward. It means that I will be more capable of being liberated from samsara in the future. Hence, I will arouse a heart of gratitude and equality, knowing that paying off debts is the mutual interaction on an equal footing, which is in line with the law of causes and effects. There is no resentment, but only gratitude and requital, equality, causes and effects. Second, when you have any ability, you must have a heart of gratitude, thinking that this ability can only be put into good use when cooperating with all sentient beings and the environment. So, you should be grateful to all sentient beings. In the meantime, you should have a heart of requital, willing to sincerely share your own ability with all sentient beings. Hence, you will develop a heart of equality. There is no distinction in the hierarchy, good or bad, between myself and all sentient beings in the results I share. As such, you will not use your abilities as a tool to harm others, because harming others is equal to harming oneself, and benefiting others is equal to benefiting oneself. This is the law of causes and effects. It is a mentality of equality in the present moment, and integration into one. Third, we must understand that having intrinsic awareness means having the ability to know one's own faults, which is the same as having a hope for salvation, the same as having the opportunity to be liberated from samsara. Therefore, we must always give rise to a heart of joy that we want to find the root, as soon as we see our faults. Once you come up with a mind that can remedy this fault, you must have a feeling of being enlightened. Fear not of the rise of thoughts, fear only the delay of awareness. Hence, under the law of causes and effects, blaming others is the same as blaming oneself owing to the heart of equality. So, you do not care about other people's wrongdoings anymore and only observe your own. This is already enough, because it means that you can be saved. In this way, it is possible to generate and practice the correct Dharma methods with an intrinsic awareness that does not abide in notions. That is, you will no longer abide in the notions of a self, others, and sentient beings. Neither will you abide in the notion of longevity, or be attached to feeling superior to others. You can then accomplish the first oral pith instruction of the Diamond Sutra, should not abide anywhere, and do not abide in notions. The fourth kind of intrinsic awareness, before you do anything, if there exists gray areas and unsolvable dead knots, you must go through the second step of the mind training procedure, questioning. Ask questions of yourself, relevant people, and wise people. This is to determine whether there are deviations and errors in your own actions and thoughts. You must be grateful for any wisdom and good results derived from the process, and dedicate them to all sentient beings. Make a wish to share these wisdom and abilities with all sentient beings. If you can do this, you will be able to achieve no notion of Dharma. That is, should not abide anywhere and do not abide in notions. You will also achieve no notion of non-Dharma. That is, you will possess these kinds of intrinsic awareness without any attachments, and can truly achieve not to abide anywhere to develop one's mind. That about does it for today's teaching.